First thing he's got to do is listen to the doctors. Do not rush anything. The man's still young. He's in his prime. He's not on borrowed time. He's still got years ahead of him. Listen to the doctors. Come back, whoop some ass, take the gloves off. No more Mr. Nice Guy. Tell everyone to go themselves, knock some people out, and this whole escapade will be behind him. Doing interviews and showing the receipts and showing the doctor's appointments and all the rest of it, I don't think that's the way forward.
Dana White publicly framed it as Tom Aspinall didn't want to continue after the eye poke, but what the USC president didn't mention was his complete silence. Aspinall himself revealed Dana never contacted him, not a single text or DM, since the fight. This cold shoulder from the boss, especially for the UK's top fighter, exposed a shocking lack of relationship and support from the very top of the organization, leaving Aspinall feeling utterly let down and disappointed after he'd already given so much to the USC banner. It was a brutal wake-up call for the heavyweight champion, revealing a startling disconnect that would fuel weeks of controversy and speculation about his future and the sport's integrity.
It's been a bit of a whirlwind, to be honest with you, because I know there's a lot of haters out there. Of course, this is professional sport at the highest level. We have haters. But when the eye poke happened, obviously, eye pokes happen all the time in MMA, unfortunately. And got the eye poke. Obviously, everything went on from there. Went to the hospital, returned home. Didn't even check my phone or nothing for a while. And then I realized people genuinely think that I faked this. People actually think that I was faking it. And then I was like, did people actually see the replay of what happened? Because that was a full-on eye poke.
The immediate aftermath of the double eye poke was a whirlwind for Aspinall, far beyond the physical pain. As he returned home from the hospital, avoiding his phone, he was stunned to discover that a significant portion of the MMA community genuinely believed he had faked the injury. This wave of skepticism hit him hard, forcing him into a defensive position he never anticipated. He couldn't believe people were questioning the severity of what had happened, especially without even bothering to watch the replay, dismissing the clear foul as a convenient excuse to stop the fight.
So then I was like, what is going on? Why are people thinking I'm faking this, after everything that I've been through to get there? So then I left it quite a while. I thought, right, I'm going to get all the doctor's notes included. I've been through it for loads and loads of tests for weeks. I've literally been in the hospital 2 or 3 times a week getting different tests. Then I come up with a doctor's report, and then people are like, oh, he's fucking crying about it. He's doing a media tour on it. He's milking it. And I'm like, bro, if you don't believe the eye poke and you don't believe the doctor's reports, what are we doing? What's going on here? I didn't make it up. Go watch the replay, check out the doctor's reports. Look, man, I'm in a point where you just cannot please these guys. These guys are fucking losers, man. These guys are just crazy haters who have got nothing good going on in their life, obviously. I still got a lot of fans. I wanted to keep my fans updated with what's gone on, and I appreciate everybody that's stuck by me.
Aspinall quickly found himself caught in a storm of criticism, wrestling with the overwhelming pressure of being accused of deceit. He acknowledged that scrutiny comes with competing at the elite level, but the idea that he would fake such a serious eye poke infuriated him. The constant accusations felt like a betrayal, prompting him to speak out and correct the narrative. He emphasized that the eye poke was undeniably real and extremely serious, bewildered by how many fans and pundits had jumped to such damaging conclusions without reviewing the actual fight footage.
An easy guy, and that first round wasn't the easiest, but it was the first round. And Cyril Gane stuffed some takedowns, so therefore everyone had this narrative that, ooh, Tom was looking for a way out. Absolute garbage. He wasn't looking for a way out. Cyril Gane took him out of the fight. I'll end on this. It was troubling to see that he's still having damage, and I know firsthand how that is. Granted, I don't think it's that serious, although the fact that 6 weeks later he's still not cleared for competition
To combat the growing tide of doubt, Tom Aspinall took drastic measures. He endured multiple hospital visits and extensive tests, compiling a comprehensive doctor's report to provide undeniable medical evidence of his injury. His intention was to clarify the situation for everyone, believing that irrefutable proof would silence his accusers. Yet, even with official medical documentation, some still dismissed his efforts as exaggerating, or worse, merely seeking attention, refusing to accept the severity of the legitimate damage he had suffered.
And then we get to the post-fight press conference, Tom, and Dana White is there, and his demeanor initially seemed to be one of someone who was upset, annoyed. And then he said the line that has been dissected, and you talked about it a little bit on your YouTube channel, where his take was Tom didn't want to continue. It didn't feel like he was defending you or the decision not to fight or the injury or even being critical of Cyril. It seemed like he was upset that the fight didn't continue because it was back and forth, and it seemed like he was actually rather complimentary of Cyril. When you heard his comments, how did you react?
Yeah, slightly disappointing.
This public struggle left Aspinall deeply frustrated. He watched as people ignored both the clear replay footage of the foul and the detailed medical evidence he provided, choosing instead to label him a whiner or accuse him of milking it with a media tour. He couldn't comprehend how anyone could disregard factual evidence, calling his detractors crazy haters with nothing better to do. Despite this negativity, he expressed profound gratitude for the loyal fans who stood by him and appreciated his honest updates on his difficult recovery journey.
He hadn't spoke to me. He hadn't given any he was already giving updates on my health, and he had no idea what had gone on. Yeah, so disappointing, mate. Disappointing.
The notion of it being framed as Tom didn't want to continue, as opposed to he got poked in the eye, he couldn't see, he can't get that stuff. That phrase, the way that picture was painted.
However, not all within the MMA community agreed with Aspinall's approach. UFC legend Michael Bisping sternly advised Tom to cease the public explanations and doctor's report postings. Bisping asserted that attempting to win over fans by portraying oneself as a victim or begging for support rarely works in the cutthroat world of combat sports. He stressed that social media and sports audiences inherently respect fighters who project an image of not caring about external approval, prioritizing strength over vulnerability in the public eye.
Going back to this thing what Tom said, no more Mr. Nice Guy. That's what he needs. He needs to start telling everyone to go themselves. Simple as that. Don't come online and show the doctor's notes. I understand why he wants to do that, because he wants to say, look, 6 weeks later, the doctors still say that I'm not fit to fight. But all one is doing in that situation is playing into the narrative of the haters, playing into this narrative that you're a victim, showing the world, that everyone, that you're vulnerable. You don't have to do that. We all saw you get poked. They were deep, they were double eye pokes, they were all the way down into the knuckle. It was a shame, it's a bloody travesty that happened, right? Just come back and whoop some ass. And along the way, take no prisoners.
Bisping's message to Aspinall was clear and uncompromising. All the talking should happen in the octagon. He argued that off-camera interviews, detailed explanations, and medical updates only serve as distractions, feeding into a victim narrative that ultimately alienates fans. For Bisping, the path forward for Aspinall was simple. Focus entirely on getting healthy, return to the cage stronger than ever, and let his actions and performance inside the fight do all the talking, silencing critics with undeniable dominance rather than words.
Say Cyril Gane did it on purpose. Call him a pussy because you're going to step foot in the octagon and you're going to get to fight the guy. Say, I am going to absolutely marmalize you. I'm going to make you pay for being the cheating bastard that you are. And it seems like the gloves are off to a certain degree. Not off to the extent that the fingers are going to be exposed. But yeah, the gloves should come off. And
Despite Bisping's strong counsel, Aspinall wasn't ready to stop addressing his critics, particularly those who suggested he was looking for an easy way out of the fight. He vehemently denied these claims, emphasizing his intense preparation for what he considered the toughest fight of his entire career against the formidable Cyril Gane. He clarified his strategy was a measured 5-round approach, not a quick knockout, demonstrating his respect for Gane's dangerous skills and his commitment to a calculated strategic battle.
Because you know, I can see sometimes how it can be unintentional, but if you stood at range like when it happened to me, he was stood at kicking range. If we're talking, like, I personally think that Cyril Gane is one of the most technical strikers to ever fight in the heavyweight division. I personally genuinely believe that. If he's one of the most technical fighters in the heavyweight division, why has he not learned to punch with his hand closed at kicking range? Like, it doesn't make any sense how that can be unintentional. I wouldn't mind giving him a double eye poke and then we'll carry on.
So do you think it's part of his game plan to do this? But if you say he's a dirty fighter, he's a cheater, then it would suggest that he tries to do this in order to gain an advantage, right?
Well, he cheats in near enough every fight. I ain't seen the Cyril Gane fight that he's not cheated in yet.
Do you have any concern about fighting him again?
Maybe I'll be doing the fouls next time. Who knows?
Aspinall also took aim at casual new hater MMA fans who jumped to conclusions based on minimal visible injuries. He highlighted his easily bleeding nose, a result of multiple previous breaks, explaining that a small amount of blood did not signify a fighter was losing or trying to quit. He found it ridiculous that anyone would assume he was looking for an escape after taking a few jabs and low kicks, questioning their understanding of high-level combat and labeling such a mindset as completely misguided and naive.
What I think should happen is, if there's a foul, like in my case, double eye gouge was what happened to me. So if we want the fight to carry on fairly, I get a free foul on him. So I'll double eye gouge him back, and then we'll restart the fight. I think that's fair.
I feel like that might be a tough one to pull off.
Well, so's continuing when you've got no eyesight.
Michael Bisping staunchly defended Aspinall against the looking for a way out narrative, unequivocally calling it absolute garbage. He acknowledged Cyril Gane as a challenging opponent and the difficulty of the first round, with Gane successfully defending some takedown. Bisping passionately stressed that Aspinall was never attempting to escape the fight. The eye poke was the decisive, debilitating factor that ended the bout, effectively taking him out of the contest through an illegal maneuver, not a lack of will or effort.
Question for me on the eye poke thing. You mentioned Jason Herzog in your last fight. Obviously, there's been an eye poke problem in the UFC for a while. It's not the UFC's fault, but more the commission's. What is the solution? You mentioned.
I think everybody needs to man up. Dana White, the Nevada State Athletic Commission, the referees, and just make a fucking decision, man. If you guys can do it, like, dude, that's bullshit. If we're being warned in the back, and all right, then I'm gonna start taking my warning. I'm gonna start sticking in the eye too. I get a warning. Like, that's not for everybody. Needs to man up and step up and create this and make this thing official. Dude, somebody could lose an eye. Bisping. I mean, how many other these dudes are deformed for life, dude. That sucks. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, it sucks. The one that happened to me, but two, man, it's Betch Cohead. There's a lot of people that have eye issues that you guys don't even know about. You know what I'm saying? So it starts here, and I think it needs to be immediate. And if not, man, I think people need to be held accountable for that stuff. If I also lose a fucking eye, dude, you imagine that? Like, oh yeah, oh, good job, you're a warrior. Oh, okay, well, who's gonna give me my eye back? You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody needs to step up. Everybody, including Dana White.
The alarming reality of Aspinall's ongoing injury continued to trouble Bisping. He noted the seriousness of the situation, expressing concern that weeks later, Aspinall was still dealing with significant damage. Bisping, having first-hand experience with career-threatening injuries, found it particularly alarming that a full 6 weeks after the fight, Tom was still not medically cleared to compete. This extended recovery period underscored the severe nature of the double eye poke, contradicting any notion of a minor or faked injury.
I actually got punched in the eyeball against Andrei Arlovski, and during that fight, I had double vision. I wasn't moving my feet around because it was making me dizzy, and I was adopting a stance that was kind of like this. I usually fight with my hands pretty loose. I was adopting a stance that's kind of like this, so I could see him properly, and stood with my feet in the middle of the cage. So look, I've fought through having one eye before, but when you get double eye gouge and it's against the rules, and you can't see anything, like, if you're going to continue, that's just suicide, especially against a guy like Cyril Gane. Like, if I can't see somebody because of an illegal move, look, if it's legal, everything's good, it's a punch, kick, knee, elbow, we got to carry on, we got to fight through it. But if it's both eyes and it's an illegal technique, I'm not a dummy. Like, I'm not gonna carry on in a fight that I'm definitely not gonna win because somebody else is cheating and I can't see.
The medical situation surrounding Tom Aspinall's eyes remains deeply concerning. He is still unable to resume full training, as doctors are evaluating both of his eyes for potential surgery. Aspinall revealed an upcoming eyeball injection, which he admitted to being extremely anxious about. While eager to return to the octagon, he recognizes the delicate nature of eye injuries, and without a clear timeline from his medical team, the exact date for his full return to active competition remains frustratingly uncertain.
I think Dana said he's gonna make a rematch.
So, that's all we have from today's video, and hopefully you enjoyed it. Share your thoughts about the upcoming UFC fight card in the comment section, and subscribe to our channel to get more updates about UFC.
Adding to Aspinall's frustration was Dana White's demeanor at the post-fight press conference. White's initial annoyance seemed directed more at the fight's premature end than at Aspinall's injury, and his comment that Tom didn't want to continue was particularly disappointing. Aspinall felt Dana wasn't defending his decision or the injury itself, and instead appeared complimentary of Gane, further solidifying Aspinall's sense of being unsupported by the very organization he represented and contributed so much to. Aspinall continues to be severely limited in his recovery. Double vision persists, making any sudden movements a dizzying ordeal. His current training regimen is restricted to light workouts, focusing on simple bodybuilding weights and minimal cardio. Gentle jogging and cycling are the extent of his activity, just enough to stay active without risking further damage. This constrained recovery highlights the profound and lingering impact of the eye injury, far from the fine reports initially circulated by the UFC. Michael Bisping doubled down on his advice, urging Aspinall to fundamentally change his public persona. He insisted that instead of presenting doctors' reports to prove his unfitness, Aspinall should stop doing such things and start standing his ground. Bisping saw these actions as feeding the hater narrative, making Tom seem vulnerable and a victim. He reminded everyone that the double eye poke was visibly clear and a bloody travesty, implying no further proof was necessary for those willing to see it. Bisping pushed Aspinall to confront Cyril Gane directly, especially if Tom genuinely believed the eye poke was deliberate. He advised Aspinall to challenge Gane's character openly, labeling him a cheating bastard and vowing to make him pay in the ring. For Bisping, this assertive stance would demonstrate strength and confidence, a powerful contrast to posting medical updates online, which he viewed as passively playing into the narrative of a victim, rather than projecting the dominance expected of a champion. Former champion Aljamain Sterling also weighed in, expressing deep sympathy for Aspinall's plight. However, he echoed a harsh truth about modern MMA fandom. The more a fighter tries to clarify their injury situation, the less fans seem to care. Sterling noted that many younger fans aren't interested in context or support, often quick to dismiss injured fighters as inactive bums. This brutal honesty highlighted the unforgiving nature of the sport's audience and the futility of over-explaining a legitimate injury. Tom Aspinall didn't mince words when questioning Cyril Gane's conduct. While acknowledging Gane as one of the most technical strikers in heavyweight history, Aspinall argued that such a skilled fighter should have mastered punching with a closed hand at kicking range. He directly implied Gane's open-hand strikes were intentional, not accidental. Aspinall's pointed question, if he's one of the most technical fighters, why has he not learned to punch with his hand closed, suggested a deliberate bending of the rules for an advantage. Aspinall's conviction about Gane's intentional foul solidified after rewatching the fight footage. He observed Gane repeatedly extending his fingers towards Aspinall's eyes during risky exchanges, particularly when Aspinall put him in danger. This wasn't a single mistake, Aspinall argued, but a consistent illegal tactic to gain an advantage. He even cited Jon Jones's prior warnings about Gane using dirty tactics, reinforcing his belief that Gane is a big cheater who sought to compromise him illegally. Frustrated with the persistent issue of fouls in MMA, Aspinall floated a drastic, albeit jokingly, idea, a free foul rule. He suggested that if one fighter commits an illegal move, the other should be allowed to return the same foul to level the playing field. In his own case, he quipped about being allowed to double eye poke Gane back to even things out before restarting the fight fairly. This radical concept underscores the severity of his frustration with the lack of effective deterrence for illegal tactics. Henry Cejudo launched a scathing critique against Dana White, the Nevada State Athletic Commission, and the referees over the unchecked eye poke epidemic. He warned that the sport's integrity is being severely damaged by the absence of strict penalties, arguing that if officials fail to enforce real consequences, fighters will continue exploiting the rules. Cejudo emphatically stated, "Everybody needs to man up. Somebody could lose an eye," stressing the life-altering stakes and calling for immediate accountability and official action. Aspinall vividly recalled his fight against Andrei Arlovsky, where he endured double vision from a legal punch to the eye, yet still managed to fight with one functioning eye, adapting his stance and movement. He starkly contrasted this experience with the Cyril Gane fight, where the illegal double eye poke left him completely unable to see. Aspinall powerfully argued that continuing under such conditions, especially against a striker of Gane's caliber, would have been reckless and suicidal, emphasizing the critical difference between fighting through a legal injury and an illegal blinding foul. Sean O'Malley highlighted the devastating career impact of Aspinall's injury, emphasizing the immense opportunities lost. A win against Gane could have catapulted Aspinall into a massive super fight with Jon Jones, potentially invigorating the entire heavyweight division. Now, with Jones seemingly uninterested and Alex Pereira unlikely to move up, the division's future is mired in uncertainty. The unfortunate eye poke not only sidelined Aspinall but also left the heavyweight landscape in a state of flux, prompting more questions than answers about what's next for the promising champion and the division itself.